It's a movie that's on Disney Plus right now. It is a movie I have watched 1,000 times in my youth, and I don't think I ever really understood what was going on. And since getting Disney Plus, in my adulthood, I have seen it twice on Disney Plus. I haven't seen any other movie on Disney Plus twice. I mentioned in the heavyweights review that I watched Heavyweights on Disney Plus, but I had my own copy of that. I have no copy of Meet the Deedles. I assume they burnt all of them in some great purge of the Disney offices at some point. Meet the Deedles is not a good movie. However, I can't stop watching it. This is less of a review and more of a plea. I think Meet the Deedles is a hypnotizing, like, magician's trick made by dark magic. I think Voldemort's involved. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Blockbuster Reviews. If you don't know what that is, it is where I review a film while playing Tetris Marathon, and hopefully review it before I get to 150 lines or the blocks reach the top. Typically, there's no spoilers until line 50. With this particular film, I don't think it'll matter. Here we go. So, Meet the Deedles is a movie. Wow. It's the Deedles effect. I'm already screwing up. It's a movie that's on Disney Plus right now. It is a movie I have watched 1,000 times in my youth, and I don't think I ever really understood what was going on. And since getting Disney Plus, in my adulthood, I have seen it twice on Disney Plus. I haven't seen any other movie on Disney Plus twice. I mentioned in the heavyweights review that I watched Heavyweights on Disney Plus, but I had my own copy of that. I have no copy of Meet the Deedles. I assume they burnt all of them in some great purge of the Disney offices at some point. Meet the Deedles is not a good movie. However, I can't stop watching it. This is less of a review and more of a plea. I think Meet the Deedles is a hypnotizing, like, magician's trick made by dark magic. I think Voldemort's involved. I don't understand, because Meet the Deedles is a pretty stupid story. It's about two boys who are twins, the Deedles, played by Paul Walker and not Paul Walker, whose name I can never commit to memory. His name is Stephen Van Wormer, who I've only ever seen in one other film, if you could call it that, which was Johnny Tsunami, where he also played twins. He played both twins that were at rival points of a mountain. We're not talking about Johnny Tsunami, though. We're talking about Meet the Deedles. And these two kids just turn 18. The movie opens with them turning 18, being kidnapped by what I presume is other 16 to 19-year-olds, and taken on their birthday to go parasailing. And they are caught by the truancy officers, who have their own jet skis, because they're in Hawaii, I guess. A lot of truancies happen on the water. And after they get caught, in which they straight out assault the truancy officer, which would, the way they do it, he would no doubt be critically injured, probably to be laid up in a hospital for a long time, and they get kicked out of school at 18. There's an implication that their dad is rich, and their dad, Mr. Deedle, he's just had enough. So he says, I'm sending you to a survival camp in Wyoming, which of course is death to them because they've grown up in Hawaii. They only know, surfing and banging chicks in Hawaii, which this movie is essentially, I'm going to say this directly, it's a stoner comedy that should have been rated R that was rewritten for Disney, with two 18-year-old Hawaiian surfer stoners going to Yellowstone in a series of mistaken identities, are then tasked with getting rid of their prairie dog problem, which is a part of an evil plot by Dennis Hopper's character, who was the original head ranger at Yellowstone, who was disgraced after a foiled plot to make old geysers on Yellowstone reactive, that ended up hurting tourists. So he is now using prairie dogs to hopefully divert Old Faithful, the most famous geyser, into his own property next to Yellowstone so he could profit off of the new hot geyser. It's insane. The plot is straight out of a cartoon that makes no sense, and all of the jokes are out of cartoons that make no sense. There's a lot of implication that these guys probably enjoy the marijuana, probably enjoy the drink, but they're only 18 and this is a Disney film, so they they quickly swerve out of those ideas before you think about them too much. And like I said before, it's bad. The jokes are bad. The writing is pretty bad. There is a love interest in the movie, of course, where Paul Walker, babyface Paul Walker, is into the Lieutenant Ranger, who is one of the most attractive women of the time, in my opinion. This is where you find out my taste in women. And he at one point says to her, "Lieutenant Ryan, I totally crave your wave." And I gotta tell you, the fact that this movie didn't win an Oscar for screenwriting is just beyond me with lines like that. And holy shit, dude, it's something I can't even explain what this movie does. I think one of the reasons it was one of my most watched movies of my youth, which I didn't even realize until I saw promotional material for this movie when just looking it up online, because I saw it on Disney Plus and I was like, holy shit, Meet the Deedles. I just went down a rabbit hole of Meet the Deedlery. It has like an almost completely ska soundtrack. Yeah. How late fucking 90s is that shit? Complete ska soundtrack, which it was boasting about. Like, its promotional materials were like, hey, we got a full ska soundtrack. Which which now you look at and you go, okay, why? But back then, I guess they put a lot of money in that bucket. But it's a movie you have to see. It's on Disney Plus right now. Stop watching Hamilton. Stop watching the Beyonce Lion King and start watching some Deedles. Especially because it's another lesson in films, I think, trying to make franchises out of nothing. Because there's so much, like, there's so many moments where, like, characters, like, basically look to camera and go, Deedles! Like, there was gonna be Meet the Deedles 2, Meet the more Deedler, Live and Let Deedle. Like, it was gonna be just a smorgasbord of Deedles. And at one point in the movie, one of the characters says, it's like Deedle Mania, which is like, okay, what are you talking about? No one even knows who the fuck you are. You can't start saying things like that. It makes no sense. But I don't know. There's some magic sauce to this movie because I've seen it more than anything else on Disney Plus, and I've had it for months, and I don't understand. Deedles are just stuck in my brain. And I wanted to talk about some specific scenes that just make me laugh hysterically. One, there is a heavily implied scene. Heavily implied. I'm talking, they don't come out and say it, but you know it's happening. Where Paul Walker straight bangs down with this Lieutenant Ryan character. It is heavily implied. And what the best part about it is later in the movie, towards the end, when Dennis Hopper's plan is revealed, and his henchman, played by Robert Englund and another weirdo. That's right, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger's in this movie. What the fuck are you talking about? He's just a minion and he's so random. But anyway, they're in the evil lair. They're in their clutches of Dennis Hopper, and at one point he's like, "How'd you get those plans? How'd you get those prairie dog plans?" Fuck, you got to see this movie. I'm gonna run out of time. I can't explain it effectively. But he's like, "Well, how'd you get those P-dog plans?" And he's like, "Well, I got it from you when you were asleep in cake." And Paul Walker was like, "You got cake?" When we know full well Paul Walker was getting his dick wet when he was getting cake. He won out in that exchange. The other guy fell asleep into some cake. He got to bang Lieutenant Ryan, which he has no business doing. He lied to her completely. He's a giant doofus. He has been caught by her trying to lie his way out of fucking everything. And then he got to bang her, and then he's like, "What? You got cake?" And it's like, "Fucker, you got laid. You're also Paul Walker. You win out in this situation." No offense to Steve Van Warmer, but like he didn't get no Fast and Furious. He got fucking fucking Johnny Tsunami. Anyway, that's it. Go watch Meet the Deedles. Get some friends around. That's right, COVID. As soon as you can. Maybe watch it on a Skype call. It's on Disney Plus right now. It's fantastic with beers, buds, and just a fun time together. Meet the Deedles, Disney Plus. Have a good one. However, I must remind you, it's not a good movie. That's why you gotta watch it with friends.